to the Moxstars podcast. I'm Evan Kunai, and I'm here with Christopher Ritter.
What's up?
And a very special guest, Justin Pack.
Hello, Moxstars!
Welcome to the show, Justin.
Look at that. Someone trying to match Evan's energy on the intro, finally.
You know, I love it. I love the energy. I'm here for it. So, and I'm glad you're here for it, too. Let's get it. Today, we've got Justin on the show to talk about something that has piqued my interest, that is gaining momentum, what I declare to be an anomaly. He is developing one of the strongest cEDH teams in the Pacific Northwest. We'll get into that. Before we do, you can support the show by finding us on YouTube. You can give us a like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more notifications. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms. You can join the Discord server where we're having conversations about the new set. We're having conversations about cEDH. We're talking about decks. We're getting feedback on decks. The whole community is contributing to just this overall conversation. And you can go support the show even further by joining the Patreon. And as a supporter, for $3 a month, you become an official Pepperhead and get exclusive access to 2 exclusive channels and early access to all of the arena gameplay videos I've been doing as of late. Something that I am also incredibly excited to pitch today is the new Patreon tier launching when you see this episode on Friday. It'll be a new tier where first, I'll be updating the supporter tier to get exclusive access to deck feedback. You send the Moxstars your list, and we will personally go through and offer any advice, any suggestions possible that we can to your list, and sort of like have that conversation, give that feedback. And the new tier for $20 a month, not only do you get access to the Pepperhead role and the Pepperhead tier, you get the ability to schedule one gameplay session with the Moxstars themselves, either on Spell Table or Arena, cEDH, Commander Contained, whatever you'd like. We'll make it happen, and that will be recorded and turned into a future episode on the show that will launch just right after that. So once I go through and edit it, comb it all over, we'll launch that episode, and you'll be featured on the Moxstars Podcast YouTube channel with your own gameplay session. Pretty cool thing.
Sounds sick.
Yeah.
That's rad as hell. Say you get as many games in as you can with people that know what the hell they're doing. I'm all about it.
Yeah, and I know that like anybody who signs up for this is going to take it seriously. And cEDH, Casual Commander, whatever it is, like even if you want to play Commander Contained, I know we're going to have a great time. So I'm going to make that limited, just have limited slots available. So while you can, get in there, sign up for the tier, and let's get some gameplay on the schedule. But before we get into this major subject, the main topic today, I saw a new card today, guys. And I am...
from Murders at Carlisle Mansion?
Yes, specifically the Commander decks, and a card that I think is you're gonna want in one of your decks, or all of your decks that contain white, because it is called Trouble in Pairs. For 2 and 2 white, an enchantment that says if an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips that turn instead. Whenever an opponent attacks you with 2 or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card.
That sounds
That's
good.
so nuts.
It is, not only is it like nuts, it is the whiteristic study that people have been waiting for. Everything that Smuggler's Share wanted to be. And Ritter, you know, I shit on Smuggler's Share. That card
Smuggler's Share
sucks.
It's not a good card. I got burned by it too.
Mhm.
You read Smuggler's Share and you're like, well, all of these things are likely to happen. I'll probably draw a card off of it or create a treasure token, right? Wrong. It doesn't happen. It's straight up like, I don't know if it's RNG. I think it's just a card. It's a trap.
Yeah.
This card seems fixed. Yeah, I mean, it's one more mana than Smuggler's Share. But the effect is much easier to trigger. It triggers more than once each turn, right? If I'm reading that correctly.
Yeah, it triggers on all three of those instances.
All three of them, and it has an additional effect stapled on there that turns off at least one of the meta commanders, and that's if turning off extra turns. It helps.
Yeah, that turns off Time Sieve and Tivit. So not a bad card to want to like for a Stacks variant or just Stacks deck. I think that one thing we can say is that white has finally caught up to where we wanted it to be like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, they put the work in to repair white's power level, and I think this card is evidence that we're kind of there in that moment. I do want to go back to one thing you said. You're saying like this is great for Stacks decks. I think this has potential beyond Stacks because white wants card draw unless you're already in blue or black along with white. Like you're gonna have trouble with that. And this card is pretty much conditionless card draw. Like those conditions are so easy to meet. Like they're gonna happen in a cEDH match.
Yeah, like I feel like there is opportunity for all three of these instances to trigger in a single turn, which is where I see it's like that's the potential, that is the ceiling, and it doesn't seem unrealistic, especially in a format where like Tymna is probably the most played commander in cEDH in some like pair or format.
I mean, not even Candyland, like there can be big turns that aren't ending the game that you might get 5 or 6 cards off this, right?
Right. Just an interactive like turn can be like, hey, people are battling on the stack. Like, boom, you cast your second spell, draw a card. Oh, you cast your second spell interacting with him, draw a card. You cast your second spell,
drawing your second
draw a
card.
Boom. Yeah, like you tap the One Ring. Great. I'm going to draw a card too. Or just like, I know that we have seen like Fairy Mastermind out there. Like, imagine how many times that triggers. And that's just 1/3 of this effect. So I am stoked. I was even saying today that just one Ledger Shredder trigger means you get 2 cards. So
yeah,
kind of nice.
I don't want to fall into the smuggler share trap. I am going to go on the record and say that if this was 3 CMC, I would love it. And like unconditional, I would love it. 4 CMC, maybe it's a trap again. I don't know. I think it's good.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I think it's really good. And
Justin, you any thoughts on this?
I think given the fact that they put or instead of and, like 6 months ago, this would have said and do all these things and you can get one. That's smuggler share, right?
Yep.
Just every single card that I'm stoked about from this most recent set is white on it. And this one today, when you brought it up to me, my jaw dropped and then hit the floor and then went through. I think this is everything that kind of I want to see when I play white.
I love an Enchantress build, and this just fits right into that too. It's just like it's so good.
Yeah, I say, and I know I went on when I was talking about the deck list a while ago, where if you can do the Ring or Sylvan Library, pick the Ring, obviously. If you can do both, do both. I think I would put this in over Sylvan Library because it's incidentally going to get you just that much further without the life loss. This card is gas.
I think it races Rhystic Study in a weird way. I think like we were comparing the One Ring when it came out to Rhystic Study and saying like, does this like outpace Rhystic Study? And the answer is yes. Like there is the incidental like life loss, but we're not really considering that. Life is a resource. But this, on the other hand, side by side to Rhystic Study, I feel like, you get 1 Rhystic Study trigger, 2 Rhystic Study triggers. Like I'm also going to draw a card once you hit your, hit that threshold. So like it does have a limit where it's like, I'm not going to draw a card every time you draw a card, but I feel like a lot of people are going to draw 2 cards in a single turn. It's what this format has like. It's why we see Bowmasters as such a powerful card in this particular format, is because oftentimes every single turn people are hitting their second spell or their second card in any given turn. So
yeah. I think if you're willing to say that Lotho's a good card, if you take CMC out of the equation, you have to say that this card is a good card too.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Lotho is what, 20% of this card?
Correct.
Yeah, and you don't lose life. So
Yeah.
maybe even better. So I'm stoked on it. The only thing that battles this is Shieldred. Like if someone plays a Shieldred, which gives me even more like justification in putting Shieldred in our top 10 like cEDH cards of this last year, like it just keeps getting better. And that was why we put it in that list, is because like, hey, Shieldred is just going to keep getting better. And this card makes that better, but it's also great in its standalone sense.
Well, I think in the last like 2 or 3 tournaments that I played in, Talion was absolutely the all-star. And you want to talk about all the cards that the Talion owner is drawn every single turn from doing it. You have this, and it'll at least balance out the value that you're seeing from across the table.
Did
what
we figure
people, naming with Talion right now?
Right now it's 2. And then if they get to later, you have your options of 1 or 2. What we're realistically seeing is we're seeing it get cloned and naming 1 and 2.
That was actually going to be that same question that I was going to ask Ritter, is like, what are people naming with Talion? Is it figured out yet?
Objectively, 2 is the best, unless you can slam it turn 1, name 1, then figure out a way to flicker it and get it back to 2. But yeah, 2 just, it's so good.
It's a way. Yeah, I played against Talion last night at Mox Boarding House, and some guy just showed up to pub stomp some tables, and I'm like, I think I know how this works. I can stop it from happening. They still drew 8 cards. You know, like it's just that good. It milks the table, does all the good stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into the main subject for today. The most prolific cEDH team in the Pacific Northwest. We've got Justin Pack here to talk about it. Justin, I'm so glad you're here to kind of like give us a better picture of what's going on, because I know that we had talked a long time ago about wanting to motivate others and wanting to like get people in this mindset of like getting better, and like you want to bring new players, new cEDH players under the umbrella at Gabby's and like get them more involved. And I now feel like you guys have gotten there, like collectively as a community. You have created such an environment that new players are able to come in and consistently show up and be rewarded for that. And so I guess I want to hear more about this team, about how successful you've been, how many people are involved, you know, like, and about, you know, like what it takes to put something like this together.
Okay. So, well, yeah, I'm Justin, and I play for Team Always Punished. Whether or not that's the official name, it's the name that I use, and I will live and die by that.
That's a good name.
Yeah. I've been playing with the team, call it 18 months. And when I first started becoming a regular playing down at Gabby's, I would say there was a main core of Atlas, John, Tyler, Joe, and Jaden. And those are the really heavy hitters that would just take tournament after tournament on the weeklies, and they would be the one. They would, hey, do you want to play? Do you want to do pre-games? Do you want to sit and discuss deck lists? Do you want to sit and talk cards? And over the course of like 6 to 8 months, we made it into 2023, and then there was a more consistent rotation. There was maybe 12 of us, and we would travel down to Portland and go talk to Topher's tournaments, and then we would head on up to Bellingham, and then some of the team traveled out east to Idaho. Atlas started traveling down south into California, playing tournaments down there, and we would just, as a team, go represent our card shop, and we'd play games together. We would run ideas off of each other, and ultimately it turned into now 15 to 20 of us that will consistently pop into a Discord. Does anybody want to jam a game? And we'll get 6 to 8 on a random Thursday, let's say, or Friday or Tuesday morning.
And I know it's incredibly hard just for like, I know that like it's been hard for us even to like generate a consistent community of players. And like what you guys are doing is just incredible, because I find it difficult just to even get 4 players like on the same page about meeting up at the same time. And now you're telling me that there are 15 to 20 people that are ready at any given moment to like jump into a pod and play and like
in pre-agreement about power level as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and progress their ability as players.
I think it really starts with Wheaton's Law. Just don't be a dick, and people want to play more, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so we'll get new players that buy a precon, they'll shuffle up, and one thing that I like to say to any new player, if they get paired with me, is I will walk you through what is objectively correct, in my opinion, even if I'm harmed the most by the play and I will lose the game based off of this. My goal to you, new player, is to show you how the cards interact, show you the rules of the game, show you how threat assessment should work if you want to play at what I'm calling tier 11 now, and walk them through step by step how to read the card, pull the words out that you need to, see how it interacts with the other players' commanders, and we'll do this in the middle of our weekly Thursday night tournaments. I will never let anybody win, but my goal is for them to walk away and say, I've heard about cEDH. It's supposed to be these sweaty tryhards, when really we just play the best cards, and we're going to be nice to each other while we're doing it. And I'm not the only one that does that. Of Team Always Punished, every single person will do that.
I think that you guys have found this like great balance of communication and how to deliver the message. It's like even at tables when we go to tournament, when we sit there, first thing I notice is that a majority of you are in the top 8 tables. And then the second thing I notice is how much communication is happening at that table is lending to your success.
Yeah. So I know Atlas and Joe talk routinely on Man on the Rocks about communication with the table, with your opponents. They talk about politics. They had a whole episode on politics. I know everybody here on the Moxstars will discuss how things on the table are progressing. Talk to your opponent. Don't be afraid to share relevant information. And as long as you can do that in a way that isn't salty, isn't aggressive, and isn't just inherently ick, then you're going to progress yourself as a player. You're going to progress your opponents as players. And what do they say? High tide rises all ships. So if I can make my opponents better players, it's going to force me to become a better player, which in turn is going to let me bring that skill back to my team, share that information with the rest of them. They'll all become better players. And then we'll go into these tournaments and do our best to top 16. And one thing that I've noticed is we routinely are 9 or 10 of the top 16s for any tournament that we go to.
Yeah, that's wow. That's a wow factor, because and I've been to tournaments where you guys are all wearing the same shirt, and it is just impressive to see the top 16 cut and know that, like, I think last time that I was at Laughing Dragon, there was one of the 4 tables in the top 16. All of you were wearing that shirt.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God. It's like
So I am the only one that does not wear that shirt because I like bright colors and my battle vest is brighter than the shirt, and that became my away uniform before the shirt was made.
sure.
But yeah, apparently I'm a failure, right?
No, we got to get you an exciting shirt that says "Team Always Punished."
Team
See,
always
no, you know
punished.
what? I like what you're saying with the away uniform thing. I think you get to design alternate jerseys for like, is it a Gabby's tournament? Is it a Laughing Dragon tournament? Wear different colors, different colored shirts
I like that.
hmm
for the team. You know,
I'll say, yeah, then that'll be something that we need to pitch is team always punished for home and I'm a failure away.
And merch. So like you guys are going to be like, in professional gaming and shooters, there's like TSM. They're like pretty famous, right? You turn around and now Team Always Punish. You guys got merch. Like you're collaborating with shops like Laughing Dragon to make new merch and for tournaments. Like
Sure.
you got,
I'm
like,
not opposed to it.
there is a like a treasure trove here. You got some serious potential here with how many people show up. And the more you consistently place in the top 16, the more people will want to be on board. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
Serious
sure.
growth
You
here.
know, and luckily there is no tryout. It's just a matter of come practice with us,
Yeah.
right? If you can make it down to Gabby's and want to play some games, someone's gonna be available.
Right. And I think, yeah, that's one of the best shops to go to get not only involved in cEDH, but the best place to learn cEDH with how frequently y'all play. You play weekly, right? At least.
Thursdays, right? Is
Correct.
your night?
So there is a weekly 2-round, $5 entry, and come in, jam a game. That's where I will play the decks that I'm testing. I am fortunate enough to $5 is something that I can pay and be able to lose it. I know not everybody can. Again, I'm lucky enough to be able to do so. So that's where I'll practice and do just maybe does this jank work, but more practice, right?
Yeah, that is ultimately what we were trying to do. Even like I'd say 6 months ago, was we're trying to go to a tournament. We're trying to be more involved. We're trying to just like spectate tournaments because like film it like it's not like riding a bike. And I think that there are a few
More
things in
reps
life
against better players, more game knowledge. Like,
Exactly.
That is the path.
because we're playing a game that develops faster than pretty much any other game in the world because of how many intricacies in gameplay there are.
Yeah, and I like the analogy of it just doesn't come quick, right? Or once you learn how to ride the bike, right? But you still have to learn how to ride the bike. You get a lot of the players that we travel with. Yeah, you see the results, but what you don't see are the hours reading the forums and the interaction on Discord servers and the games and games and games we put in and the deck list building and the editing, and it's tens of hours a week of putting into this hobby to make sure that we can perform at that level.
Yeah, even at the highest level, like it's Magic is a game that is easy to learn, hard to master. Like,
Correct.
you have to put in the work.
Yeah, it's a devotion to the craft. You guys are like a Division III college athletics team. No one is getting a scholarship, but you're all committed.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. I say, and it's like that crying cat meme. You've been playing this for how long? You're pretty good at it, right? Yeah.
No.
I'm trying still.
A bad day can usually result in you questioning your commitment, like at a tournament. I know that I've seen too many people like show up and go 0-4, but like sometimes it just happens, man. Like, when you get to the big stage, it takes experience. So
that last tournament that I top forward, the very next one, I went 1-3.
Yeah.
Just it happens in a format where statistically you're supposed to win 25% of your games or less, and Blue Farm only wins 22% of all the tournaments that it represents. Yeah, losses will happen, and that's probably the hardest thing to wrap your head around when you're playing at tier 11 is don't expect to win, and when you're on a new list, expect to win even less.
Can I ask a question about your team? Because you mentioned Blue Farm. Do a lot of guys have their pet decks that they play, and then just for reps for practice when you go into tournaments, do you have to like assign people and be like, hey man, can you play Blue Farm just so we have someone in the pod?
Yeah, we'll do that. And it's not a matter of you're assigned to play it. The two that I would say are the most prolific at it are Tyler and Atlas, and they will bring lawn boxes to practice sessions and say, hey, I can build 1 to 2 right now. What do you want and what version do you want? So
and just, people that listen and people that know that Atlas is known mostly for Kenrith, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like he's coming prepared with the other decks, and like part of his game knowledge is like having those decks and playing those decks as well.
Correct, because you need to be able to. The best way to learn something is to teach it, right? So for me to be able to play against, say, Winota, I need to be able to pilot Winota. So for me to be able to play against Blue Farm, I should be able to pilot Blue Farm. And I've got my Rocco list memorized at this point. So if somebody's trying a new list, I personally I'll volunteer to play one of these pre-built decks so they can get the reps in with their list, especially if they're trying out something new.
Can I ask something? And there's no right or wrong answer here. Is this team proxy friendly, like in terms of having these decks available?
100%.
Okay, good.
Yes. There is a growing sentiment, and it's one of my mantras. I want to play against the brain, not the wallet. And I know for a fact that if a person loves the deck, they will make it very shiny. But what I advise new players against is that deck can cost $10 at FedEx, but it's $4,000 real. And if you put up numbers, make it real. The hobby's, as expensive as you want to make it, regardless. Hey, if I've got into cars, that's expensive. If I'm into sports, I got to travel for sports. That's expensive, right?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like that's gatekeeping in a sense where it's like, hey, you got to show up with the real cards, like otherwise we don't want to play with you. It's like, man, the barrier to be competitive, like you said, $4,000 is like kind of the low tier like of a competitive build, because you need certain things that are, I hate to say it, $100 plus, per card. Like a Mana Crypt, you absolutely need it. Like, I'm sorry, but
yeah. And that's $150 at the base. You mentioned Sholdred, that's $100.
Yeah.
Right. Anything above 3 colors, your dualies are going to run you at minimum $350.
Exactly.
So, like, I don't want to spend $6,000 on a mana base, especially if I just don't like the play style.
Yeah, I just I've been very proxy focused in the last few months. Like I definitely was in that boat where I was just like, I want to have a budgetless real deck. And that Shalai Nolar deck on Moxfield was a little over $11,000. And
oh boy.
Right. And that
Did
I
that
made
win
sure
you more games?
I won plenty of games, but it's no, it didn't make me win more games because I have it in proxy and it wins just as many games as it did before. It's all about the player, and I'm glad you guys move forward with that mentality, because that's ultimately how you'll be able to grow your community of like-minded individuals. And like even people who are like, I have to play with the real cards, they're still welcome. Like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
correct.
There is no like, hey, we only play, this way. You just can't shame people for not investing like 10 grand into like a deck. That is
Mhm.
the definition of insanity and gatekeeping. So you guys are awesome in what seems to be every single way. I'm glad to see the growth that you guys have like exhibited over the last, not only ever since I've met you guys. It's just seemed to be like growth on growth on growth, not only as players but in size and in community. So
Well, so I want to touch back on the um, bring a deck. Can I build it? What do we play against?
mhm.
I mentioned it last time we talked. When I practice with my buddy Jason, we will take 4 decks, and I'll play a deck that I'm practicing for real. He'll take a deck that he's practicing for real, and then we'll take up proxied lists and put them as players 3 and 4. We roll and do turn order and everything like normal, but then we play with all 4 hands face up, and it does not matter who wins. It matters that we play the game and say objectively, this is the decision that we should be making. Now, I know we have all information in front of us, but it's improved the 2 of us immensely because we know what potential iterations are going to be in a deck when I sit down and look across at. So I can pilot Godo now because I've put in 15, 20 reps with a face-up Godo hand, knowing, all right, if Godo's played Mountain Soul Ring Crypt, we're going to win next turn.
Yeah.
If Godo has played Mountain Dockside for 3, we're not winning next turn. It's shown me when to counter. It's shown me when to go for things. It's helped with my windows. I know I mentioned I don't personally care about mulligans in Rocco, but it's also helped me with my mulligan and my turn order and my seed order and other things. And I really highly suggest that as well. If you have 2 players, you only have a buddy, but you want to put in the practice, print it out, put it on black and white, put basic lands and sleeves and throw up your proxy in that list. Costs you $2 and time, but it gets your reps in.
Yeah, I think that I've been going a little bit bougie and going, like you said, $10 at FedEx. Sometimes it's $12 if I want nicer paper.
And
like,
color.
Yeah, so like the ceiling for entry is low. I do have one question for you. If there are new players out there who are looking to find you, how do they do that? How do they, like, now that you guys have like created this community and you're playing like on Spell Table and stuff like that, I'm sure that people are able to find you through Discord. And like, I know that some listeners out there will probably just want to, like, they might be across the country, but they might want to get involved.
Sure.
How do they do that?
Well, so you can find me on the Moxstars channel and the Man on the Rocks Discord channel. I'm Tordeth. I could not tell you what my pound number are, but if you DM me and you want any thoughts on a deck list, you want to jam some games, absolutely. I think that webcam magic has a place in practice. You can sit and discuss. It's the best casual competitive version of Magic for me. But yeah, you can find me as Tordeth. And if you want to come jam a game in person, I will be at Gabby's every Thursday night. You'll also usually find me at most of the majors in the area. That being said, I will be at cEDH 4 February 10th at Laughing Dragon. And then I know Gabby has another one the weekend after in Olympia at Olympic Cards and Comics on February 17th.
Yep, I'm going to do my best to be there for both of those.
And sure. Well, I can tell you it's the start of tournament season, right?
Yep.
That's and am I able to you want me to go into the other thing then based off of tournament season?
Sure.
Sure. So I guess part of what we had talked about, and I guess I'm super proud of this one, when we last played as a team, it was at the Pacific Northwest Regionals. Shout out to everybody on the team that made it to the top 16 on that one and got invited to day 2.
Atlas won that, right?
He did, but I'm pretty sure there was 6 of the team in the top 16.
Wow.
But I got it in my head that the team has been playing at a high level, but we've backed off on our cEDH skills. So I, last minute off the cuff, basically a week beforehand, I said, hey, dear team, I am willing to judge if we want to sit and do a mock tournament. I was able to get shop space. We were given access to the Command Tower software. And I said, if you show up Saturday at 10 a.m., we'll go ahead and run this tournament. I'm going to hold it at comp. Please bring a deck list. I didn't have the time to check it, but you have to have a deck list at most tournaments. So bring the deck list. You need all of your tokens. You need all of your dice. You need to make sure that you can pen and paper your life total. I held it at comp. Showed up, and 21 people were there, not the 12 that I expected. And we held a off-the-cuff, impromptu, 4-round, 5-pod Swiss tournament cut to top 4.
That's just, it's honestly so impressive how, like, you weren't even expecting the consistent participants, you were expecting the consistent participants to be there, but not only that, did you get that, and maybe some of them didn't even show, but like you got a total of 21 people involved. And honestly, like I said earlier, I have trouble getting 4 people together, and just one message out into the Discord server, out into the community, led to an impromptu tournament. Just like on the fly, people showed up. And I think it's great that you laid the preface to be like, hey, bring everything you need. This isn't official, but you bring everything, because you are gonna need to be ready. You absolutely need to have an accurate deck list. I might not check it. Who knows? You never know if they're going to check it at tournament. Last time I was at Gabby's, I got checked. And it's like, whew. I know they require the deck list, but I'm glad that I did all my checks and balances and stuff like that before everything started, because it just I felt secure, but even the deck check is a little nerve wracking at times. So you got to be prepared in all senses.
We also worked with what was it, on the Pacific Northwest one? Eminence had come out and changed at the last minute that we're going to go from 90 minutes no turns to 80-minute no turns. And so for this year-long tournament structure that they're doing this year, that's the rule set that they've landed on. So Atlas was able to pull up Eminence's rule set for how the tournaments are going to be structured. And I read through them, and I made sure that that's how I held this tournament, because if we're going to practice going into tournament season, I wanted it as real as I could to the closest possible iteration of what we'd be playing in against. And then give a huge shout out here. So I've been lucky enough also to get my L1. Jordan Edwards at Gabby's and John Towery, my L2 mentor, have really come a long way in making sure that I'm on the right page, know where to get all of the information that I need. They've really pushed me into being comfortable to then judge at a competent level as well these events. So then my players, they can refer to me as judge, not Justin, in those situations, which also allows them the comfortability and the practice of calling for a judge. What does slow play look like? How does deck shuffling look like? We're still very sensitive about the deck shuffling and the cheating thing that went on with one of the local Corvold players. So we make sure that everything's above board, and cannot stress enough how much Jordan and John have meant to me, getting me to that level as well.
Yeah, I know that that mentorship has to be just invaluable, because like I know that I have like struggled in the past with like the confidence of like calling judge and noticing certain things at the table. So like that just goes so far to like not only like reaching accountability for like the community, but I'm sure that more people could benefit from that type of mentorship, and you're like getting there to the point where you're able to now do it as, you know, a coordinator and a leader within this team. So yeah, I'm excited to see where you guys go. Like I know that you said the next tournament, February 10th at Laughing Dragon, is the next tournament.
Yep.
And then right after that, Gabby's on the 17th. So very exciting.
Sure.
Do you know what deck you're taking to those?
It'll be Rocco. That's
Rocco.
where I'm currently most comfortable at. And if we're geeked about this White Ristic study, I am even more geeked about Delny. That card says that I can do all of my combos extra. I'll put double win cons on the stack as I'm doing the thing. And just holy smokes, I think this deck is fantastic. I've also added a Living Plane Elishnorn combo to the list in case I get shut out and have to go mid-rangey.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I really would suggest to new players is you don't have to jump into these $50 Mana Crypt dual lands online tournaments. There are plenty of smaller player count, smaller buy-in, little tournaments to really get your feet wet. Example is last night I went and played in a $10 charity event. It was 8 players. The prizing was promo cards. They gave out door prizes. Oh man, I took home a Lord of the Rings promo Rampant Growth. That thing is fire. It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, that's a really pretty print.
But I also got to play 3 rounds of comp REL that I just wouldn't have been able to play if I hadn't gone to this little event.
Right.
And shout out to Kyle for putting this thing on. It was with Defiant Fox down in Tacoma. They're trying to get this off and running. And it was wonderful. I also got to say, these little charity event things too are wonderful. So just little plug here. If you get a chance to go to any of these events, the donations all go to JDRF. It's a diabetes charity. Going forward, it's something that I am a believer enough in. I've offered to Kyle that I'll judge it for free because it's such a good event and it's such a good cause.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that if you are out there and you're listening to this episode and you are curious of where to go to find some more of these like events that are like the ceiling isn't so high for entry, you can go find all like on the announcements page for the cEDH Discord server. I'll put a link in the description below on YouTube, and you can also go to the PDX cEDH server, and I'll put a link down there as well. And I know that for one, Topher's hosting I can't remember, it's 16 players, so very small like pool, but it's like a $5 entry and you get $5 for a win. So your payout is depending on how many wins you get. So basically, they break even on the whole thing, and it's just like, hey, you see, like you pay in $5, super low ceiling, and you might get $15 back out of it. So it's one way that they're able to like give people this experience and give them the reps that they need to go and be better prepared for tournaments, which ultimately is what you guys are doing as a team and as a community.
Yeah. Something else you can do at home if you're playing and don't have access to regular tournaments is hold yourself to a competitive rules enforcement level. If you just type in comp rel or CR MTG into Google, it will take you directly to the competitive rules enforcement and the MTG rules. Not that they're easy to read, but you can follow along. I also suggest no takesy backsies. That's something that a lot of kitchen table gets stuck on. If you do the thing, do the thing. You're not going to learn from your mistakes if you don't make the mistakes and acknowledge what happened.
Yeah,
something else.
If you make a mistake, like follow through with it, and also talk about why it was a mistake. And like if you're at a friendly table, like see what they think. Like get the feedback that you need to learn.
Yeah, that's huge. And if you see anybody from the team, they're willing to give their opinion on what they think good cards are. But with that, you also have to be willing to accept that not all pet cards are good. But take the advice, see if it's a good fit for you, try it out, and do your best to take to heart that that's my opinion. But for a lot of the players on the team, the opinion comes with reps, with practice, and tournament wins.
Yep. Like there's a reason. If you want to see more like statistics on tournament wins, EDH Top 16 is a great place to do
I love that site. So good.
So many results are being posted every single weekend. There's always tournaments happening online or whatever, and that software is just creating probably the best pool of information for determining what would be the best build or the best deck to take to a tournament at any given point if you want consistency and to see the top tables.
There are two things that don't lie: math and Shakira's hips.
On that note, I'm not going to
perfect ending note. Yeah.
Yes, I'm not going to take that any further because that is the absolute truth. I appreciate your time on the show today, Justin. Thank you for all of your input and giving us a better picture of what is happening with this, with team, not official, team never, or always punished.
Team always punished.
Always punished. And it is your opinion. I think pet cards are great, dude. Like
you're allowed 2.
Yeah.
You get 2.
Yep. And if they're synergistic, it's even better.
Then you get 3.
Yeah.
Then you get 3.
Yeah, I mean, I will be spoiling a list. One thing that we've been doing on the show has been promoting smaller bits of content. So if you've been listening to the podcast, you've been noticing, like there are also some other videos if you're subscribed to the show or to the channel popping up. And so we're trying to commit more to that. And this weekend, I'm posting a list of a new deck that if I participate at Laughing Dragon, I will be taking and I will be stomping face with. And that deck list is going to have a few pet cards that I think you'll appreciate.
I am looking forward to it.
No spoilers. You're just going to have to subscribe to the show and look forward to it dropping on Saturday. That being said, this has been the Moxstars podcast. Again, Justin, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, bud.
You got it. I got a date with a Dr. Pepper.
Hey, I actually have one right in front of me. I was going to crack it earlier, but I didn't want to be rude. Let's just do it now. I just feel like I gotta. There we go. If you want to support the show, you can do so by finding us on YouTube, where you can like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more notifications. You can find us on all major podcasting platforms. You can join the Discord server, contribute to the community and the conversation that's happening there. And like I said, in the description below, there are links to join the other two communities, the cEDH Discord server and the PDX cEDH Discord server, where you can become more involved with the Pacific Northwest cEDH scene and community there. Have a conversation, get some feedback on deck lists, whatever you may need, it is there. You can also support the show on Patreon by becoming a supporter or joining our other tier, where you can schedule an exclusive gameplay session with the Moxstars that will be developed into a future episode of the show. I think that's all I got. I think we kicked some ass today, guys.
All sorts of ass was kicked.
That was good. That was real good.
Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one. Peace.
See ya.